Ciao a tutti e benvenuti, bentornati. Hi everybody, welcome back. Mi chiamo Sean, my name is Sean. Sono quasi le 12. It's almost 12, or it's almost noon. Today is our second episode of words that look similar in English, or sound similar in English. I have them up on the board here. Il piatto, I piatti, piatto, la pianto, piantare, piantato, piantarla, piangere, pianto, il pianto, piovere. I'm going to talk about what all these mean, maybe help demystify them a little bit for you. Of course, they all mean very different things in Italian. They look sort of similar in English. So let's start right away. Il piatto, and the plural, I piatti, the dish, the plate, the dishes, the plates. Che cosa fai? What are you doing? Lavo I piatti. I'm washing the dishes. I'm doing the dishes. And don't forget the double T. Il piatto. I piatti. Lavo I piatti. I'm doing the dishes. I'm washing the dishes. I'm cleaning the plates. Piatto as an adjective just means flat. Piatto, it can be masculine, feminine, or plural masculine and feminine. Piatte and piatti. Just means flat. I like this example. La vita durante il Covid è piatta. And it's piatta because it's la vita, so they have to match, of course. Life during COVID is flat, or life during COVID is boring. La vita piatta is the boring life or the flat life. Then we have la pianta, or the plural le piante. That's the plant or the plants. And I think this example comes from the movie Jurassic Park. Ci sono piante velenose in questo edificio. There are poisonous plants in this building. Just like before, velenose has to match piante. It's plural and feminine. In questo edificio. Same thing here. Questo has to match edificio, building, masculine, masculine. Let's see. Piantare, the verb to plant or to sow. Basically just like English, to plant something. Che cosa piantano? What are they planting? Che cosa piantano? And then the past participle of piantare, to plant, is piantato, planted. So if you want to use it in passato prossimo, in the simple past tense, you would use piantato, not to be confused with pianto, which we'll also cover later today. Ho piantato alcune cipolle. I planted some onions. Ho piantato alcune cipolle. Same thing, alcune and cipolle have to match because cipolle is feminine plural. Some has to match. So not alcuni, but alcune. I planted some onions. The next one is another verb, piantarla, but this is different from piantare. Piantarla means to stop. It's a pronominal verb, hence the la at the end. So basically, even though it looks like piantare, it's a completely different verb. I'll give you a couple other examples. Avere, to have, and avercela is another example of a pronominal verb. Avercela con means to be angry with someone or to be angry at someone. So they both start with avere, but this is just a different verb. They're almost like, to get in English means different than to get at. If I ask you, what are you getting at? That could mean, what do you mean? If I'm asking you about what do you get, that might mean in a restaurant, what are you going to order? So they look the same, but because these have the particles at the end, it's a completely different verb. Basically, to conjugate pronominal verbs, this is not a lesson on pronominal verbs, but to conjugate these, you take the particles and you move them to the beginning. And then you conjugate what's left like you normally would. So with avercela, to be angry at or to be angry with, you would move the che and the la to the beginning. Che, la, I con me. Are you angry at me? But because you can't say la I, you drop the a and you add the apostrophe. So it becomes ce l'hai con me? Are you angry at me? A lot of pronominal verbs, you can say them in a different way. Sei arrabbiato con me? Are you angry with me? This is a little bit more colloquial. Here is another example. Sentirsela is not the same as sentire, to hear or to feel. Sentirsela means to feel like. I don't feel like blah, blah, blah. Do you not feel like blah, blah, blah? And this example is in passato prossimo, simple past. Non. So we took the se and the la, and we moved into beginning, and then we conjugated sentire just like we normally would. Again, this is a little bit advanced, but hopefully you get something out of this. The se has to match. So it's because I'm talking about it, se becomes me, but you can't say me before another pronoun, so it becomes me. Non me la sono sentita di mangiare fuori. I didn't feel like going out to eat. So you can see sono sentito is simple past. Me la, se la goes to the beginning, becomes me la. Sono sentito goes afterwards because we conjugate it just like we normally would. But because of the la, sentito becomes sentita. And no matter who is saying it, it's going to stay sentita. So you didn't feel like going out to eat? Non te la sono sentita di mangiare fuori? Hopefully that's not too crazy for you guys. The other rule with pronominal verbs, and again, I hate to diverge so far into pronominal verbs with this lesson, but the other rule with pronominal verbs is if you're going to use it in the imperative, you conjugate the verb in the imperative, and then you add the particles to the end. And we're going to see that in a second. Back to piantarla. Used mostly in the imperative, and it's actually a little bit rude. If you say piantala to somebody, it means knock it off, or shut up, or quit it. In my couple examples here. Hey, vuoi piantarla? I left it in the infinitive here. This is like, hey, do you want to knock it off? If you say vuoi piantarla, it's not a question. I'm not asking you if you'd like to. I'm sort of nicely being rude, like, hey, you want to knock it off? Hey, you want to quit that? And then our second example here starts with ma. Many phrases in Italian start with ma. It means but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a beginning of a phrase that they use quite a bit. Ma piantala. So piantare, we conjugated it in the imperative, and then we left the particle at the end. If I say pianta, that means plant something. Piantala, knock it off, quit it, stop it. Again, it can be a little bit rude. So, not that you need to use this, but if you hear somebody saying it, you're going to know where it comes from. Again, I apologize for the long explanation for pronominal verbs. That's just a very, very basic introduction to them. But hopefully you got something out of that. Let's move on. Piangere, to cry or to weep. A couple examples here. This is in the imperative, don't cry. Non piangere. Remember, with imperatives in the negative, you just stick non and the infinitive together. So you leave it in the infinitive form, put non at the beginning. When you're talking to someone, when you're using it in the to form, non piangere, don't cry. A little bit about the pronunciation. Io piango, tu piangi, lui lei piange. Remember that G-O becomes go, and the G-I and G-E becomes G and J. Io piango, tu piangi, lui lei piange. Pianto, remember before we talked about piantato, the past participle of piantare, to plant? Now we have pianto. Participio passato di piangere. So the past participle of to cry. Means cried or wept. So if I want to use it in passato prossimo, I'm going to use pianto. Non ho pianto, ma Ho avuto tanti incubi. I didn't cry, but I had a lot of nightmares. Incubi, not incubi, incubi, nightmares. And again, tanti, many, has to match incubi. So we don't say tanto incubi, tanti incubi, many nightmares. Tanto incubi. Non ho pianto, I didn't cry, but I had many nightmares. This is related, il pianto, that's the crying or the weeping. If you want to use it in a noun sense. Questa musica mi sembra proprio il pianto di qualcuno. This music really reminds me of someone crying. Questa musica, this music, to me, sembra. Sembra because the music is the thing that we're conjugating the verb sembrare for. So not sembro or sembri, but sembra because it's third person, singular. Proprio, in this sense, means really or definitely, surely. This music really reminds me of the crying of someone. Here's another interesting thing if you're going to use sembrare in this sense, sembra. In English, we would have to say, it reminds me of, or it seems like. But the of and the like in Italian are included in the verb. So, sembra il pianto. It seems like the crying. Di qualcuno, of someone. This is just related because we were talking about piangere, to cry. Pianto, cried. Il pianto, the crying or the weeping. Tears and teardrops. La lacrima, the tear or the teardrop. Le lacrime, the tears or the teardrops. Piovere, it's another one that's along our PIO, PIA scheme. To rain. It's pretty much only going to be in third person. You're not going to say I rain or they rained. So in the simple terms, to say it's raining, piove, or literally it's raining right this second, sta piovendo. Remember, if you want to say that something is happening right now, you can put stare plus the verb in the gerund form. Sta piovendo, literally, it's raining. Again, the first one, piove, looks just like it rains, but they use that in where we would say it's raining, you could simply say piove, and it works totally fine. Piove da pazzi, it's raining like crazy. Ha ricominciato a piovere, quindi siamo partiti. It started to rain again. Ricominciato, it started to rain again. Quindi, so, siamo partiti. This is partire in passato prossimo. If you're going to use a verb like partire, to leave, you need to use essere. And we, noi, for essere, is siamo. And if you do that, it has to match. Partiti. Again, that's a little bit of a tangent, but if I'm going to put examples up here, I want to try to give you as much detail about them as possible. Piove, simply, it's raining. Sta piovendo, if you want to say literally right this second, it's raining. Piove da pazzi, it's raining like crazy. Or sta piovendo da pazzi. Ha cominciato a piovere, it started to rain. Or, like this example, ha ricominciato a piovere, it started to rain again. It restarted to rain. Quindi siamo partiti, so we left. And finally, la pioggia is the rain itself. In English, we say in the rain. I'm stuck in the rain. Or I'm outside in the rain. In Italian, we say under the rain. Sotto la pioggia. La pioggia, the rain. Sotto la pioggia, literally under the rain, but that's how you would translate in the rain. Non voleva aspettare sotto la pioggia. She didn't want to wait in the rain. Non voleva aspettare sotto la pioggia. Again, this is volere, to want, in imperfetto. So we're talking about something that happened maybe not a specific period of time, or we're describing an event. Aspettare, to wait. Sotto la pioggia, under the rain, literally, but that's how we say in the rain. Non voleva aspettare sotto la pioggia. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll put some notes in the comments. I'll put some links for any other interesting videos. Grazie mille, grazie infinite. A dopo, alla prossima. Ciao ciao, grazie.